Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Complete Sports Media's podcast. I'm your host, Darren Campbell, and joining me as usual on a Monday is Jason Cameron. Hey, Jason, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I'm off kind of for today, so
Nice.
that's why we're able to do this a little bit earlier, and it's kind of nice.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you're getting 8 hours paid today for sitting here doing a podcast. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I don't mind it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Okay, well, UFC was exciting this weekend. We had the very first pay-per-view card of the year, 2021. They go to Abu Dhabi. They open up this new Etihad Arena, and they had 3 cards in a week there. I want to focus first on this Saturday's card and the huge main event between Conor McGregor coming off a year layoff, facing Dustin Poirier, trying to be the top of the lightweight division. And a lot of people had Conor McGregor winning. He had, he was the betting favorite, but Dustin Poirier proved that he has evolved a lot over those 6 years since the last fight they had together, and was able to knock out Conor for the first time in his career and take over the crown as the best lightweight in the world currently.
I had Poirier winning this fight just because I thought eventually inactivity on Conor's part would catch up to him at some point. I've always thought that. I've always thought that if you want to be at the best and continue to be at the best at the top of any division in the UFC, you got to be active. You gotta have your timing down and stuff like that. And that's what seemed to be off when I saw Conor fight.
Yeah.
First round looked great though. He looked fantastic. He looked really good. But I saw something during that first round and I was like, that could be a concern. The calf kicks that Poirier was throwing were beginning to add up exponentially, very quickly. It was beginning to compromise his movement. And Conor's a man that needs his movement to be effective. Once you start compromising that, he's a lot less effective.
Yeah.
A lot less effective. And then the second round came along, and all of a sudden, as I was watching the fight, we had to rewind it because I didn't know what he got caught with or what Poirier saw that all of a sudden he just did the flurry. Because it seemed like he just decided, I sense weakness.
Yeah.
And then it was over. And I was just like, oh, man, what did he do? And what did he see? And I think he clipped him with something, saw him rocked slightly.
Right.
But it was enough for Poirier to know that's my moment, that's my time, I take him out now. And he absolutely did that.
Yeah. Oh man, did he ever take advantage of that? Yeah, it was hard to notice. It's it can be something very, very slight, but he jumped on him, took advantage, just kept hitting him relentlessly until Conor was down on the ground and Herb Dean had to come in and stop the fight. It was shocking. We just haven't seen Conor get schooled like that. I thought Conor won the first round, but his sharpness was off. He just didn't seem like the Conor of old to me. He definitely wasn't landing that left very often, and he was taking way too many kicks on that front leg. Why didn't he change stances? Why didn't he check that kick more? Is it something that, maybe that ring rust or that cage rust was there?
I think so. I think he just, like with the repetition of being in the cage and just always being on and being in that mentality of that fight focused mentality. I think there was something to be said that he lost a little bit of that in this particular match. And he just didn't do the things to adjust to whatever Poirier was throwing at him. He didn't do his adjustments, the minor adjustments within the fight, Yeah. I didn't see any of those things happen with him. And then all of a sudden, Poirier saw his moment, and man, did he ever capitalize. Yeah. Man, did he ever capitalize for him. Yeah.
Poirier took Conor down really early first round. Was that a really smart move from him in his corner to, take that down, at least have that in the back of Conor's mind? Do you think that was a really good game plan?
Yes, of course it was, because it gets Conor thinking that it's not just going to be stand up. You're going to have to think about it all. which is always a good plan in any sort of MMA like fight.
Yeah.
That you have to have your opponent thinking of all the different ways that I can attack you. And so Poirier did that, got that out of the way, just so that Conor knew in the back of his mind, he could take me down. He could take me down at any point in time because he's already done that. So I have to be conscious of that too as well. Just gave him something more to think of other than kicks and strikes, kicks and punches, you say.
Okay, before the fight last week, Dana White met with Khabib, and Khabib's statement coming out of that, according to Dana, was that I'm going to watch these two fights between Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier, Dan Hooker and Michael Chandler, and then I'm going to make a decision on coming back if I see an incredible performance out of either fight. So are we expecting Khabib to come back? Because we saw two amazing performances from both those fights.
And they both ended in KOs. I just don't know if they were destructive enough for Khabib. I don't know what he's looking for, man. But if he wanted stellar performances, it kind of doesn't get better than 2 knockouts. So yeah. I would say he should seriously be considering it at least, because it wasn't your traditional war. It wasn't a 3-round war with Hooker, and it wasn't a 5-round war with Conor. But the two guys that have raised to the cream of the crop took out their opponents pretty quick. So maybe he considers it. But again, I don't know what he wants to see from these guys, and then also too, I don't know how much of a push, how much he really wants to get back in there.
Yeah. Do you think he would have been cheering for Conor because it's kind of a bigger fight, all that animosity? He loved beating him up. He's already beat up Poirier once. Do you think he would have actually been cheering for Conor?
Yeah, he would have. And you want to know why? Money.
More money.
Pure money. That's the only reason why he cheers for Conor. Because if he wants to get paid a lot of more money, then if Conor wins, he gets paid a lot more money. But since the Diamonds, since he won, I don't know. I don't know now, because then you could actually say the difference between the Diamond winning and Conor winning is literally millions of dollars. It's millions of dollars that he will not get.
Do you know how much this fight cost Conor McGregor? I think this cost Conor McGregor $150 million because of 3 fights that aren't going to happen right now. Khabib coming back, Manny Pacquiao is off the table supposedly now, and Jake Paul had offered $50 million to Conor McGregor to fight him, and I saw he put a tweet out that says, I'll offer him 10 grand now for fighting me, that bum. So so honestly, Conor has that aura of invincibility at times. Even, YouTube guys are calling him out saying, I'll pay him 50 million. Boxers want to fight him because the massive payday. Khabib wants to come back and beat him. $150 million because he got KO'd. Should he have taken a bit of a lesser fight to come back before this?
Tough to say, right? Because he's at this elevated level, and how do you take a lesser fight, like a tune-up fight, so to speak, when you're already at the upper echelon in your division?
They do it all the time in boxing. They do it all the time in boxing. All the time.
I know they do it all the time in boxing, but you don't really see that in the UFC. Yeah. They don't really do that in the UFC. Yeah. And you could say that it's his own fault for his own inactivity. He could have been fighting a couple more times last year. He chose not to. All right. So I would say the responsibility solely lies on his shoulders for being inactive.
He says it wasn't his fault. He says that Dana White and the matchmakers of the UFC, they didn't keep him active. Do you think it lays more on Conor McGregor's shoulders?
No. Okay. So that's the stuff behind the scenes that we don't know about, right? That's the stuff that's the negotiation talk. Here's he said, she said.
Yeah.
I think personally, for me, the guy wanted to fight. Fight's going to be made. Yeah. You know what I mean? If Conor wanted to really fight would have been made.
Okay.
But it sounded like to me that he didn't want to fight, or the money wasn't right, or whatever it may be. But now that he's lost, I guess that money's never going to be right, because it's never going to look like the way it was. That's for sure.
So what does Conor do next? Is he able to get a trilogy fight with Poirier? Is he able to get a trilogy fight with Nate Diaz? Where does he go next?
Well, you know what? Like, I know that he's already been clamoring for a rematch with Poirier because the rubber match and yada, 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 yada. I don't know if Poirier is even interested in that, to be honest with you. First off, number one, Poirier's more interested in, we got to figure out this belt situation. All right. That's number one. All right. But now for Conor going forward, if he wants to get right back on the horse again, he needs to fight somebody of a name. But I don't know if he should fight a name. He should probably fight it, like you were saying before. You probably have a tune-up fight now that he's lost, maybe two, and then fight somebody up, because he even spoke to it himself in his post-fight interview about inactivity. All right, well, then now that you've lost, and now that your air of invincibility is literally shot and it's gone, and all your money that you could have made, like 150 million, that's gone too. So now that you're kind of like a normal dude again, maybe it's just time for you to just fight normally for a year. Yeah. Maybe that's what you want to do. I would think that would probably be the best idea for him, so that he begins to get his reps in and begins to become the Conor that we've known him to be.
Did he lose his edge because he's so rich? Because he had that Floyd Mayweather big payday? Is he a different fighter now because he doesn't have to fight for money?
Well, yeah, you could say yes. I would say yes, because if you go into a fight game to try to cement your legacy, to feed your family, to make sure that you have enough money to ride off into the sunset, and that your kids are good and everything else is good in your life, well, then he's done all that, right? He's a former two division champion, champ, made 100 million with Floyd Mayweather. He's got this proper 12 whiskey business that apparently his Irish people love to death, and they're making him a whole much more money, right? Yeah. So if your financial needs are taken care of, which I'm going to assume with Conor, they most certainly are, then what's the real push anymore? What really drives you? What makes you want to get out of bed and say, like, I want to get my head beaten in by my teammates and by my training partners so that I can be the best in the world? Don't know if he still has it. Like sometimes that want and that need goes away. For every fighter, it's a little bit different. Find that spark to get that again. I don't know if Conor has it. I don't know if he wants to have it again. I guess we'll see in the upcoming months on what he decides to do with his future.
Okay, I'm sure we're going to swing back a little bit to both those guys again, but why don't we discuss a little bit about Michael Chandler's dismantling of Dan Hooker. Hooker's taken some beatings lately, one of the top guys in the division, but Michael Chandler came in and proved he's no joke, comes from Bellator, and has been waiting, chomping at the bit, trying to get an opportunity. How impressed were you with his performance?
Poirier couldn't do that to Hooker. That's how impressed I am. Yeah. Nobody's done that to Hooker. Like that was as catastrophic a right hand as I've seen in a very, very long time. Like, if you're going to make some waves, you're going to make a statement, especially after he cut his WWE promo in the post-fight. Awesome stuff, Mike. Way to go, buddy. That's the way you make noise. That's the way that you become, now I'm a thing now. I'm a major, big deal. I'm a big challenger for this division. Like, now that Chandler did that to Hooker, he's right up there in the talks of, if Khabib doesn't come back, who's the belt go to? Because now you have a 3-horse race. Poirier, Chandler, Gaethje.
Yeah.
He's one of them three, man.
So don't forget Charles Oliveira.
Four guys.
I think he should be in consideration. I heard Poirier make some comments when they said, should you fight Chandler? And he said, geez, I'd rather sell hot sauce than do something like that. He said, Come on, the guy came in, beat the same guy I already beat. He's had one fight in the UFC. I've had 27, 28 fighting some of the biggest killers on the planet to get my hands on a belt. He doesn't deserve this shot. Go fight a few more times before you even should grace the octagon with me. And I was impressed with Poirier saying that.
No, yeah, me too, because he's absolutely right. But you know what? So is Chandler. You want to know why? Dana White loves noise. Those guys that make a lot of noise, right? That's what Dana White does. That guy made a lot of noise. I love that guy. It's great. So. But Poirier most certainly does have a point about like guys jumping the queue, which happens all the time anyway, so it doesn't really matter what he thinks. So yeah, in a perfect world, yes, he would have to kind of earn his stripes and have more fights. Don't know if that's ever going to happen. But I believe Poirier does have a point in the fact that if Khabib doesn't come back, well, Chandler's not fighting for the belt. That's him and somebody else.
Yeah.
And for the most part, if I had to guess, it probably should be him and Gaethje or him and Oliveira, right? Yeah. I think that's it. I think those are the fights.
Yeah, the three scenarios that I saw for Poirier, well, I guess 4 if Khabib comes back. Khabib, number 1. Rematch with McGregor, number 2, because the money's there for Poirier, might as well. Nate Diaz or Charles Oliveira. And I could see all 4 of those scenarios playing out quite well. McGregor, I think he should fight Nate Diaz. I feel like that trilogy will garner a lot of interest, and it won't be, super, he won't get beat super bad because Nate, peppers him, but he doesn't, hit him with KO shots type of thing. So it might be the smart move for Conor. Also, the other names that sort of came to mind were Paul Felder having a shot at some of these guys, Tony Ferguson or RDA, Rafael Dos Anjos could be in the mix there. Lots of interesting scenarios, and this lightweight division I think is the best division in the sport, and it has a lot of cool fights that can come together. I can't wait to see what's next. Dan Hooker took his gloves off and left him in the cage. Do you think that was at that moment saying I'm done?
I want to say that might have been more of a thing of he was just kind of frustrated with his performance. I think personally, because I don't know, it's kind of young to call it quits. I kind of thought when I saw it happen that it was more of a frustration move, more than anything else.
Let's hope.
That's what I think.
Yeah, let's hope so. I mean, it's got to be tough to take a loss like that. You feel like you're on the precipice of, taking a win and getting a title shot. And, the frustration that, must have been, there was a lot of trash talk to him and Chandler going into this. So he's got to go and regroup. But I see some really good fights in his future if he's continuing. I think Paul Felder deserves a shot against him, maybe. Tony Ferguson, like I said already, in the mix. And another guy, Kevin Lee. I love Kevin Lee and what he's brought to the table in the last couple of years. And I think a Hooker Kevin Lee fight would be must-watch TV.
Yeah, that would be a great fight. That would be a great fight because you got a bunch of really good fighters in this division. You got a whole bunch of cool stuff that can happen here, and it's going to shake out in a certain way. I'm looking forward to it because I can't navigate this. I don't know what's supposed to happen anymore. I have no idea what's going to happen anymore, right? But that's the great thing about the UFC and about these rankings and these fights is just trying to figure all of this stuff out.
Yeah, it makes me jealous of the matchmakers. Just be so fun to be able to break down a UFC card and then start thinking about who's next and what's next, and start plotting, putting fights together. It's got to be one of the coolest jobs in the world.
I would say it's pretty cool because, like, when you get it right, you really get it right. You know what I mean? And then you just entertain the fans to the utmost because they're just like, I don't know who put this fight together, but man, they deserve more money.
Yeah. The women's flyweight fight that preceded the two co-main and main event was Joanne Calderwood against Jessica Evil Eye, and Jojo had a really great performance in a big decision win. Yeah, what did you feel like with this performance?
I thought Calderwood looked fantastic. She definitely had a more distinct advantage against Jessica Eye, especially when it came to the strikes. I believe it was 123 to 56. That's a decided advantage.
Yeah.
And Jessica Eye, I think she languished too often by pushing up against the cage and not doing anything with the position. She didn't do enough with that.
Yeah.
And Calderwood, by far and away the busier fighter throughout the course of this fight, by far and away. And yeah, that's why she got the win. But, big but. Calderwood gets the win. She's in the top 5 or whatever. She's in the conversation for maybe another fight. Then she gets to fight the champ.
Yeah.
There's still a significant gap between the skill level of the champ and whoever the heck else she's fighting. So, yeah.
Yeah, they've talked about Shevchenko, but I think Shevchenko and Andrade are supposed to fight next. So the Twitter talk today was Joanne Calderwood fighting Lauren Murphy as a tune-up fight to fight the winner of Valentina and Andrade. So that might be kind of great. I was pretty impressed with Jessica Eye, even though she had had her gallbladder removed. It was functioning at 9%. She was unsure of what was wrong with her over the last year or so. She was just saying there was giving her so many health troubles, and they finally had to do surgery and remove it for her. So yeah, I think she should have had a tune-up fight, possibly, coming off something that major.
Or just not taking this fight at all. Like, wow, I did not know that. That's a major surgery that you're coming back from and saying, all right, time to get in that cage and start getting hit again. Like, man, that's wow. But you know what? At least a good thing is that they found out what the problem was and they fixed the problem. And so now that she's not going to have those difficulties she had in the past, and that's a good thing.
She came into the fight with the second most submission attempts in the history of the division. She was just headhunting this whole entire fight. Jojo's game plan was just so much more well-rounded. She was kicking, she was punching in the body, she was hitting in the head, and outlanded her, like you say, 2-1 at least. And lots of impressive performance by Jojo, but she's got a long way to go to get in Valentina Shevchenko's class. But I like the fight with Lauren Murphy. I think that might be a smart move.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great move because it was pretty clear to me that she still needed another fight before she could fight the champ, and that's a good matchmaking. That's great matchmaking to see who the winner of that, then they fight the champ.
Do you want to talk anything about some of the other fights? Do you want to talk about the Sanchez Muradov middleweight fight at all?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do, because great. I was super impressed with Muradov. Super impressed. Like I thought his striking was definitely on point, and you could tell from the first round and the second round, his right hand was just slightly getting like closer, and then the third round. It hit, and then that was game over. It hit like a tank, man, and then it was literally game over for Sanchez. Sanchez was very game in this fight, very game, but it was very clear to me that the second fighter on the feet was Muradov, and in the third round, he definitely showed it. He showed his worth, for sure.
Sanchez looked like a baby giraffe in there, just being born. His legs weren't holding him up. he was wobbling around. It was pretty hilarious to watch him trying, but his legs weren't keeping under him. That's for sure.
No, man, no. When he got cracked like that, I was just like, yeah, and that's the fight right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not going to last too much longer. But and then that's what I was super impressed by. I was impressed by with Muradov and his whole approach to that fight. And it was just a slow dismantling. He just took his time with Sanchez and eventually took him out.
Yeah, Jason Herzog jumped in and had to fight, had to stop the fight. He's on a 14-fight win streak. He's got 17 KOs out of his 25 wins. Yeah, I see really good things for him in his future. Super impressive big win. Great fight, but nice to get the knockout in the third round, 3 minutes in. We don't see that many knockouts happening that late in the fight, but yeah, really great. The main card started with the women's strawweight fight between Marina Rodriguez and Amanda Ribas. And yeah, this was a really impressive fight. Even though Ribas was ranked number 10 and Rodriguez number 8, she was the favorite going in. But Rodriguez was really, really impressive in her victory. And yeah, was able to move now into the top 10 and really solidify her position in that strawweight division.
Yeah, because Ribas, I would say she won the first round.
Yep.
With superior ground control. She got the takedown, stayed in that in the top position the entirety of the round. But when the second round started, that was a different story altogether. Because Rodriguez tagged her with right, caught her flush on the chin, shook her up to the point where Rodriguez said, "I win, I win," yeah. And she's walking away in victory. No, the fight was not stopped. So she had to, again, put back on her hard hat and continue to dismantle and then take Ribas out. And then that was the end of the fight. So she actually won the fight twice.
Twice, yeah. I had to knock her out twice. Do you put a lot of blame on Herb Dean for getting too close and making her think that the fight was over?
Right. He almost fell into her. He almost fell into the fighters because he's like, and so I was just like, oh, that's different. It's weird. So I could see why there was confusion on her part. I could see that because he got close and it looked like she didn't see everything. So he could have just swept through and then she thought, the fight was over. But, Herb was very clear about the fact that the fight is still ongoing. I have not stopped the fight. He just looks at him and says, okay, well, I'm going to punch this young lady some more and then it will be over. All right. Yeah. And then that's exactly what happened. So you know what? I see what Herb Dean's doing. He's trying to give the fighters all the possibilities in the world to win this fight or stay in the fight. That's great. And he did that.
Yeah.
But end of the day.
Yeah, I'm glad he didn't stop it there because it looked like Ribas still had a really legitimate shot to get up and keep fighting. But yeah, he looked like that baby giraffe a little bit too. He was wobbling, getting in there. And he made her think that she won. It would have been tragic if Ribas came back and knocked her out after that being that close to getting the win.
Yeah, no, that would have been bad. That would have been very, very bad. But that's not the way it went because Ribas was certainly rocked and she did not recover in time at all. And Rodriguez got the win, decisive win at that.
Rodriguez is being told that her next opponent is probably Claudia Gadelha. So that'll be another Brazilian matchup, which should be exciting. If that fight doesn't happen, there's rumors that Michelle Waterson and Joanna Jacek could be in her mix. I think those are maybe a little too much of a step up in competition, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see how she fares against some of these really, really tough women.
Oh yeah, man! Like that's great matchmaking, but it's definitely a step up in competition. And I guess the only way that you know if you're ready is when you do the step up. If you can hang with the best, and those are some of the best in the division.
Let's touch a little bit on the prelims. I kind of would like to talk about the Brad Tavares, Antonio Carlos Jr. fight. Really striker versus grappler matchup that I always really like to see. Shoeface, he tried taking Tavares down. Some of the best takedown defense I've ever seen. Really impressive performance by Tavares, getting this decision win, keeping it standing, and being able to take the fight.
Oh yeah, man. Very impressive takedown defense. Carlos Jr. couldn't do anything. Could not get him down, and when he did, couldn't keep him down for more than like 10 seconds. The guy immediately popped back up, and that's what got Tavares the win. Another thing I was very impressed by was his balance, especially when he was just hopping on one leg, especially when his leg was pretty much, he was doing standing splits over his head and still didn't fall down. No. That was very, very, very impressive. And it must have been very disheartening for Carlos Jr. going, what is going to take for me to take this guy down? Because I've just tried to do everything and nothing is working. And so when you're putting in all that effort and getting no returns for said effort, it's just going to drain you as the fight goes on. And then Tavares was just peppering him as the fight went on as well. So great dominant win by Tavares.
I heard that the Hawaiian Tavares jumping into the top 10 with this win, and Marvin Vettori is supposedly being dangled in front of him. I think that's too much of a step up in competition, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, that I'm going to be honest, I'm a little bit intrigued by that matchup. That could be a good matchup, but again, Marvin Vettori has his own set of problems that Tavares would have to overcome. Might be too much, too soon, but you know what? Tavares has been in the UFC for quite some time. He's a vet. So, at some point in time, he does have to step up and try these big boys. So maybe now is the time.
Yeah, I think he's been in the UFC for 12 years. He's been around for so long. No, this is his 11th year on the roster, and he's got 12 wins. That's the best I've ever seen him fight by far. And it's nice to see him, be able to have that kind of balance, that kind of takedown defense. I wanted him to get matched up against another grappler and show that again, because it was one of the best performances I've ever seen. And I prefer the strikers to the grapplers, always have. And so it'd be nice to see him take out another grappler and stop him from his winning streak. So the women's bantamweight fight between Juliana Pena and Sarah McMahon was a really exciting, fun fight. I enjoyed so much of it. There was a lot going on in the fight, and it looked like the first two rounds were split. Went into the third round, and Pena was able to get a great takedown, get the rear naked choke, and submit McMahon. Pretty impressive performance by Pena.
Yeah, very impressive, because McMahon, I think, took the first, and then Pena took the second. But as the fight wore on, I thought that Pena was getting better. She was getting stronger as the fight wore on, and McMahon was slowing down or being worn down. So I wasn't surprised what happened in the third, where she got the takedown and then managed to get her back and then get the rear naked choke for the finish. Great win by Pena against a very, very game McMahon. But as for Sarah McMahon, I don't know. She might be thinking it might be, because I think her career is beginning to wind down now as we speak. So I don't know how many more fights she has left, but it's been a pleasure to watch her fight. And but yeah, this fight definitely told me that maybe there's not that many left for her going forward.
Yeah. Well, she's what is she, 40 years old, and been fighting that long. It's been a long career for her. Did you see who Pena called out after the fight?
Oh, I did, and I can't remember who it was. Did she call out the champ?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's right. She called out the champ, and let me say something about that. What are you doing? Didn't you just come back? Like she hasn't. You want to talk about being inactive? She hasn't really fought all that much, and it's a great win against Sarah McMahon. But come on now. Come on.
Yeah, she said she's beat 3 former champs before, and she's ready for Amanda. Amanda's on a layoff, so she might have a little bit of rust, but they're not in the same stratosphere when you think of fighters in the women's game. So yeah, I don't see that happening, but there's been talk today on possibility of Holly Holm or Raquel Pennington being her next opponent.
Yeah, it's great. They're gonna lose. So I don't know, man. Like right now, Nunes has the same problem as Shevchenko.
No, I'm talking about Pena fighting Pennington or Holm.
Oh, yeah. Pena fighting Pena. Oh, okay, that's what you're talking about.
Juliana fighting Holly or Rocky there. Yeah.
Okay. So that's good. I like that. That probably makes sense. That would be the fight that you would make. And then as she climbs her way up to fighting Nunes.
Yeah.
But again, I do want to make that point. There's still this gap. This overall gap. There's
Big
still
gap.
a little gap between all of the other women and then the champ.
Yeah.
It's the same problem that Shevchenko has, where it's like, well, whoever the heck comes out of that morass, that mess, well, they got to fight me, and then they're probably going to lose quick. So
yeah. We both know how much far and away Amanda Nunes against the competition. It's not really legitimate chances most of these women have. She's the best fighter. We'll see with this long layoff, if it does any damage to her abilities, but we doubt it. She's the best fighter of all time, and will continue to be, I'm sure, for many years to come. The light heavyweight fight between Khalil Roundtree Jr. and Marcin Prachnio was a great battle. Two really tough guys, and that started off the preliminary card. What did you think of this one?
I thought it was good. It was good, tough fight between these two fighters. Khalil Roundtree looked good in this fight, but Prachnio won this fight, right?
He did, yeah. He won the decision, yeah.
He won the decision.
Yeah.
And I thought that Prachnio won. He won the fight. I just thought he was busier. I thought he was busier. I thought he had the better strikes, and he mixed up the ground and the strikes really well.
Yeah, you're right. I wanted to mention a few things about Roundtree that came to light as the fight was on. He's Khalil Roundtree Jr. Khalil Roundtree Sr. was the manager of the group Boys to Men back in the day. And somebody decided they wanted to rob Boys to Men. And when they went in to do the robbery, his dad ended up getting shot and killed. Khalil was only 2 years old at the time, and his dad was tragically murdered over this robbery. And that was shocking. I hadn't heard that until Saturday night.
No, I'd never heard that story before, man. That is truly, it's saddening. It really is, over literally nothing. Yeah. The man died over nothing, and that's a travesty.
He said he was really having a hard time when he was a kid. No father, a lot of troubles, in a bad community, a lot of things that weren't going very well. He was kind of suicidal. He didn't really care if he lived. He said he remembers being 19 years old. He was 300 pounds. He smoked 2 packs of cigarettes a day, drank 2 2-liter bottles of Dr. Pepper, never had a vegetable for many years, and only ate fast food. Didn't care about his body, didn't care about himself at all, until his brother said, you got to get yourself off the couch. You got to get yourself into the gym. I wanted to see you get in better shape. You've got, you're so big. You got so much ability. I think athletically that I think, you have a chance at this. And it turned his life around. He was able to get in shape, become competitive, finally get himself in the UFC, and make a life for himself. And a really great comeback story from a guy that had some tragedy.
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic story. It's a story that anybody can relate to, like when you have these obstacles that you encounter in life that you somehow need to overcome. And he's done all those things, and he's done it well. And now he's he's a solid pro and a vet in the UFC, and I'm sure his father would be very, very proud of him for what he's accomplished.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to be cheering for him a lot more now to hear his backstory. Yeah, tough life, but I'm glad he's been able to make his way into the UFC, and he's making a living, and he's a really tough guy. And he's down at light heavyweight, which is 205. He said it's very hard to get to 205 because he spent most of his life around 300 pounds. So big guy, big body, and a lot of power in his shots. So keep your eye out for Khalil, and yeah, look online a little bit. There's a lot on his story of his father. His father was supposedly one of the greatest guys that contributed his time, lots and lots of money to many causes. Really, a lot of really nice stories about the guy, and yeah, it was very tragic that he was killed over something stupid as a robbery.
Of course it is. You know, like you never want to hear about these stories or see this kind of thing happen because it's nonsensical.
Yeah.
It doesn't even make any sense, right?
Okay, early prelims real quick. We don't want to get too much into it, but the catchweight fight, 150 pounds between Movsar Evloev and Nick the Carney Lentz. This ended up being Nick Lentz's last fight in the UFC. He's retired. Said he can't come back. He said he suffered a damage from an eye poke his previous fight, and it left him with only 40% vision. He thought he would try it out and see if he was able to still fight at this level. He said he just couldn't. I don't know why this wasn't found out by the officials and the doctors going into this fight, but he said he was basically fighting one eye, and he took a seriously bad beating, and he hung up his gloves. He said he's retired and done from the UFC from now on.
Well, that's probably a good idea, especially because you can't fight with one eye. I don't think anybody can or should. No. So unfortunately he suffered that damage to his eye that's now going to affect him for the rest of his life. That sucks. But he clearly made the right move in hanging them up because he can't fight anymore.
Yeah.
Is a shame.
He had a couple of chances to get a guillotine choke and almost finished it on a couple of occasions, but Evloev definitely showed a lot of moxie and powered his way out of them and was able to take the victory.
Evloev is on his way up, I believe, and he has shown that he has the ability to get through these tough fights and win these tough fights. Yes, he won the tough fight against a one-eyed fighter, but he still has the ability to get through these tough fights, and I think the future looks pretty bright for that man.
Yeah. Talk today about Evloev facing either Bryce Mitchell, Giga Gachaji, or Gavin Tucker. So all three named fighters. Evloev is 14-0, and on the severe rise on the early prelims, but I think he'll get a really good shot at being on a prelims or a main card very soon.
Yes, he should, because he's undefeated. So usually fighters of that ilk get moved up the ranks pretty quick.
Yeah. Okay, do you want to touch? There was 3 fights this week, 3 cards this week. Sorry, 36 fights all in all, I think it was. Why don't we just touch on the main event of Wednesday's card? It was an early morning card, so I wasn't able to see it live, but tell me about your thoughts on the main event between Michael Chiesa and Neil Magny.
Okay, so basically this is what I want to say. You had 2 guys that are used to just grinding out wins or just using their stamina and endurance to beat up the other person. And they both do that. They do that very well. Yep. So I was very interested to see how this fight's going to look when 2 guys do the same thing, kind of, to a certain point.
Right.
It was actually as technical a grappling fight as I've ever seen. It was super technical, and these guys brought it. But at the end of the day, the main difference and the reason why Chiesa won this fight over Magny was he won the 50-50 scrambles. Yeah. He consistently always won the 50-50 scrambles to the point that I think Neil Magny may have won 2 out of 20. You know what I mean? Like it was that much. It was that big a difference.
Yeah.
When they were scrambling around and trying to get top position to this or that, Chiesa always came out on top of those scrambles. And when he came out on top, he kept his top position and was able to ground out usually at the end of the rounds all the time. That's what got him the win. Chiesa looked fantastic in this fight, and he looked again super strong, super like he looks like a huge welterweight at 170. I still don't understand how he got down to 155. I really don't get that at all.
Yeah, he's a big body, and yeah, he definitely looked way bigger than Magny, who's pretty slight, but Chiesa, yeah, just in every scramble, he just had the upper hand. He was able to transition when Magny would make attempts to get on top or move to his submission attempts. And oh man, it was one of the best performances I've seen. And I was glad it was a 5-round fight because it was really fun and exciting and one of the best grappling matches we've seen in a really long time. And Chiesa, yeah, he's definitely going to move up the ranks heavily with this huge performance and a main event.
Oh yeah, man. And also too, this was the first time that Chiesa's actually been in a 5-round fight where he went into those championship rounds. Yeah. He's never done that before, but Magny's done it a lot, ton. Yeah. I wasn't surprised that he had gas in the tank, Chiesa, because he always has gas in the tank. Yeah. And so I didn't think that those extra rounds would be a problem for him, and they clearly were not. They weren't a problem for him at all.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, it was fun to have a midweek card. I wish it wasn't 9 in the morning, but I'm glad they had one, and a lot of lesser lights got an opportunity to get some UFC fight experience. And it was cool to see 3 cards within a week in Abu Dhabi, and now they're back in Vegas coming up this Saturday. We've got the main event is a heavyweight battle between Alistair Overeem and Alexander Volkov. I mean, either one could land that shot and take each other out. I expect fireworks in this one for sure.
I expect fireworks. I expect it could be a very short fight because that's what it always could be with the heavyweight. But I expect somebody to go to sleep for a certain amount of time in this particular fight.
Yeah. Looking forward to the next pay-per-view 2 Saturdays from now. Saturday, February 13th, also at the Apex in Vegas. The main event there is Kamaru Usman against Gilbert Burns. Burns has been on a meteoric rise. Usman being the champ. It's going to be, it should be an amazingly great, fun battle. I see Usman being the better fighter, but Burns is tough, and man, he is a pit bull.
Yeah, he is a pit bull, and these guys used to be training partners. They used to be friends. They used to be. Not anymore though, because the belt's on the line. I gotta get that belt. I'm super looking forward to it. I really want to see the dynamics between these two fighters because I think Burns brings something else to the table that Kamaru's not used to, which is like he's a very good and skilled striker. And let's be honest here, he's familiar with Kamaru. He knows how he moves. Yeah. So is he going to use that to his advantage? And on the flip side, Kamaru can also use that against Gilbert because he's familiar with Gilbert. It's going to be fun fight to see when these two guys are so familiar with each other and now they have to fight with everything on the line.
Yeah, we don't get to see guys from the same camp fight each other too often anymore, and but it'll be great because they know each other's tendencies. Have seen each other for years, competing and practicing and being in the gym together. It's a really intriguing, cool matchup, and I think it's exciting. There's a lot of really cool fights on this card. Actually, the co-main event has Uriah Hall against Chris Weidman, who's had a fantastic career, a little bit up and down lately, but Uriah Hall, you can say the same thing. A lot of inconsistencies with his game, but incredibly talented, very athletic guy.
Yeah, and also too, you could kind of say for both of these fighters, it could be kind of like a crossroads fight because somebody will continue going up the ranks and somebody's going to fall, and they may not be able to climb their way back.
Yep.
So, very interesting fight. Great matchmaking again. I'm very interested to see how this fight plays out.
Yeah. Some of the other fights on the card: Macy Barber fights Alexa Grasso in women's flyweight. Middleweight fight between Kelvin Gastelum and Ian Heinisch. Bantamweight fight between Pedro Munoz and Jimmy Rivera. A lot of really cool, fun fights. And this UFC pay-per-view supposedly was, I think they said top 3 of all time, which blew me away and shocks me. I guess you see the power of Conor McGregor, but one of the third, I think they said the third highest pay-per-view numbers ever in UFC history.
Okay, I'm not gonna say that Conor McGregor doesn't have pull. He has pull. I'm gonna say this more so than anything else. I'm gonna say it's more the power of the pandemic.
Yeah.
That's
Sure.
why those numbers are up, because people are going to be ordering this UFC because they're going to be at home and they can't go to their friend's place to watch it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. True that. Yeah. That's what I had to do. Yeah. I would have usually been at the bar watching it, but I decided to watch it at home. Dana White's jumping on, trying to get rid of all the streaming. Do you think that's a possibility?
Nope. I don't think that's I think that he can always make a statement. I think he can catch a couple of these guys here and there. Now, if you're going to ask me, can he shut it all down? Shut it down completely? No, man. No. He's not Jesus. No, you can't do that. But he's going to try, though, because that's what he does. So, yeah.
Okay, well, fantastic card, great weekend of fighting, lots to look ahead to, great pay-per-view, and I'm glad we were able to both witness it and break it down. And UFC, UFC was fun. Looking forward to the next coming cards, and NFL, man, Super Bowl matchup for all-time history. This was a fun podcast, man. I really enjoyed myself today.
Yes, it was always fun. We touched on a lot of topics today, and it was fantastic. It was a really, really busy sports weekend.
Yeah. Well, thanks for spending part of your day off with me, and have a great week ahead. I hope it goes really quick for you. I hope you don't have to work out in the weather. I think it's going to be a pretty lousy week weather-wise. So let's hope you're inside the studio working well. I hope you enjoyed this new show. Are you supposed to start on Wednesday or what day?
Tomorrow.
Oh, no way.
Tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, wow. Okay. They're going to be able to have the results from your COVID that quick.
I have no idea about that, but I'm starting them.
Okay. I see. Okay. Well, good luck. Enjoy the show. I hope it goes really well. Thanks again for doing this. And I'm sure we'll text it a little bit through the week. And I guess we'll do this again Monday.
You got it, man. Okay. You have a great one.
You too. All the best, man. Cheers. Take care.
Cheers.
Bye for now. Okay, well, thanks again, as always, everybody, for tuning in to another edition of Complete Sports Media's podcast. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, we talked a lot of subjects, had a lot of laughs. This was one of my favorite episodes of all time. Really great to hear so many of the good takes from Jason, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Man, we went a while. We're going to break this down a little bit. I think we're going to do a UFC portion, an NBA portion, and an NFL portion. So it'll be 3 podcasts coming at you in a short succession. Thanks for all your support, as always. Love you guys lots. And thank you so much for everybody that's given me support and all the people that are working behind the scenes. I want to give a shout out to my friends and family. Thank you so much. Love you lots. Take care of yourself. Bye for now.